With GMF financing to qualify buyers excludes Traverse and Corvette excludes prior sales.
If you're looking for a new or used vehicle, right now is the most wonderful time of the year. Why? Because it's Bennett Chevy's end-of-year sell-down with the most wonderful offers you can find anywhere. Bennett's got new Chevys at an unbelievable $1,000 below the GM supplier employee price. That's right, $1,000 below our employee's price. Plus, you keep all the rebates, saving you up to 20% off your new Bennett Chevrolet. Save even more with available 0% financing. At Bennett, you get it all. Looking for used? Bennett's paying a minimum $10,000, even for the worst trade. Yes, a minimum 10 grand towards any pre-owned vehicle in stock. Just imagine how much more Bennett Chevy will pay for a good trade that actually runs. And you'll love Bennett's relaxed, no-pressure atmosphere, because our sales team is paid on your satisfaction, not how much you spend. Together, let's drive at Bennett Chevy, Egg Harbor Township, and BennettChevy.com.
Home of the Philadelphia Eagles.
They've got him, it's a sack!
Sixers.
Oh, baby!
And Flyers.
He scored!
97.3 ESPN. WENJ. WENJ HD. Millville, Atlantic City. A Town Square media station serving all of South Jersey.
The start of NFL Week 15 is tonight. Josh Hennig here on 97.3 ESPN FM and the 97.3 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank of Seattle. Glad to have you guys on board the show today. We'll be chatting with Rob Maaddi from the Associated Press coming up in less than 20 minutes from now. As always, you guys can join the conversation at 609-403-0973. By the way, Eagles injury report, nothing to really report, by the way. I was just reviewing it. This is double check my eyesight was right. I mean, I know I probably need to go to an eye doctor again soon, but I mean, I'm looking at it with both my eyeballs and everyone's available. Nobody's injured. So it looks like aside from Dallas Goedert being on injured reserve, the Philadelphia Eagles are going to be pretty healthy going into this game, and Reed Blankenship is on track to clear concussion protocol. So Eagles will be almost full strength for Sunday against the Steelers. But because of the world we live in, people are still reacting to what A.J. Brown had to say. And what I don't understand is that why is it more important for some people to latch on to these stories, these narratives, than it is for us to talk about the actual game? So I'm going to try to weave it in and out, okay? I'm going to try to appease both of you people out there, types of people. Part of the problem with the Philadelphia Eagles is the fact that a lot of people want to blame the quarterback. And it's a balancing act because I understand that the quarterback does deserve some blame. I'm not vacating any responsibility from him. But I'm not going to also buy into this idea that it's all Jalen Hurts' fault and that A.J. Brown... I don't like this idea that A.J. Brown is just happens to say stuff, okay? I think A.J. Brown, what it really gets down to is when he said passing, when he made the comment that started this entire tornado that has ripped through Philly sports talk this week, I think that we have ignored, and I understand there's a lot of people out there who are not going to agree with this, okay? But John McMullen brought this up earlier on the Sports Bash show on 97.3 ESPN. He said, a lot of NFL coaches believe that scheme is worthless. The scheme and the system that you have is only as good as the players in that system and the coaching to teach and communicate that system. Well, we know we have the players, right? 2 years ago, Jalen Hurts was an MVP runner-up. A.J. Brown, Devonta Smith, arguably, if not the best, one of the best wide receiver tandems in all of football. You have arguably the best running back in all of football. You can make the claim that the Eagles are the best offensive line in football. But as Chris Long said earlier this week on the Greenlight podcast, maybe we are pointing the finger at the wrong people when it comes to A.J. Brown's comments.
He was probably talking about the passing offense in general, the game plan comes into question, the timing, the route tree, the route combinations, when you're calling passes. Yeah. But I think it's one of those games where you're like, come on, I'd like to see the quarterback get going a little bit. You want to use this opportunity to get him in a rhythm going into a stretch run here. And I thought the timing was just at times atrocious.
There's so much there for me because Chris Long, is basically saying what I feel like I've been screaming about for a while now. When you saw, if you were watching the Eagles game on Sunday or listening here on 97.3 ESPN FM and on 97.3 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank of Seattle, when Merrill Reese and Mike Quick are calling the game, or if you're watching on TV, when they run that quarterback power on third down and Jalen has no openings and nowhere to go, who's putting that in the playbook? Who's putting that in the game plan? I certainly don't think it's A.J. Brown. And I have trouble believing it's Jalen Hurts. At what point are we going to start questioning Kellen Moore again? We were willing to be critical of Kellen Moore in weeks 2 and 3. And then week 5 against the Browns. But ever since they got on this winning streak, anytime that I bring up, let's have a question about Kellen Moore's play calling, nobody wants to acknowledge it. Because it seems like people just want to blame Jalen Hurts for everything. So when Dan Orlovsky goes on Get Up this morning and has this explanation for why A.J. Brown has seen fewer targets in recent weeks, I again ask, whose fault is this?
How many times have they thrown the ball deep to A.J. Brown in the last 4 games? That's A.J.'s specialty. It's happened 1 time since the Cowboys game. Now, Jalen has thrown the ball 90 times over that course of period. Teams are playing him like an elite wide receiver, meaning playing soft off 8-9 yards deep or double teaming him. There's only been 6 moments in the last 4 games where a corner has lined up one-on-one, no safety help. 4 of those 6 times, they've thrown the ball to A.J. Brown successfully.
And the other 2 times they didn't was Sunday against the Panthers. So A.J. Brown is actually not open as much as we think he is. I know there's a lot of people who have said that A.J. Brown was open 7 to 10 times on Sunday. But according to Dan Orlovsky, he wasn't. So now we're getting into this gray area of who are you going to believe? Whose analysis are you going to believe? And what happens in many of these situations is, and we are all victims of this, right? We all have fallen into this trap. We all fall into this narrative that fits our own beliefs. And I've tried to be open-minded about this week. I've really tried to hear about how, and I agree, Jalen Hurts, his processing mentally is not good right now. He is holding the ball too long. He is not making quick decisions. I don't deny that at all. But why doesn't anyone put any responsibility on the offensive coordinator? Think about this. If Jalen Hurts wants to throw the ball to A.J. Brown, but he is being doubled as much as Dan Orlovsky says he is doubled, is it not the job of the offensive coordinator to find ways to get A.J. Brown out of those coverages so Jalen Hurts can throw him the ball? Furthermore, A.J. Brown has one game where the team is not getting him the ball when he is open. Isn't that not a trend? More from Dan Orlovsky.
I believe because of the way that teams are playing him, it's not to the extreme of like the Calvin Johnson treatment, but J-Mac, corners are 8, 9, 10 yards off. They're forcing the slant, the comeback, the out, the in route, or they're double teaming him. So there's no issue on the field outside of the Carolina game is the one that stands out, but that's the only one.
That's the only one, Orlovsky says. And you heard Jason McCourty was in the studio with him. Harry Douglas on the studio. These are 3 former players who are all voicing the same answer. That Sunday's game was not the norm. Now, look. You can go through the Eagles' schedule, as we have here on 97.3 ESPN. Josh Hennig hanging out with you in the Ocean Casino Resort Studios. Whether it's myself, Mike Gill, Billy Schweim on the weekend, whoever you want to point to who's on the radio. And first of all, we thank all of you for listening wherever you tune into the show. Listening on 97.3 ESPN FM, listening on the 97.3 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank of Seattle. If you're catching my show on my YouTube channel at Josh Hennig, wherever you're catching the show, we thank you so much for tuning in. But if you have 3 former players who are all in agreement that the game on Sunday against the Panthers was an extreme, that it was not the norm, that it was an anomaly, is the word that Orlovsky used. It doesn't change the reality that it is an extreme manifestation of a larger problem. Because if you go through the Eagles season, as I have in the past, right here on 97.3 ESPN, I have told you guys that you look back last week's Ravens game, the Browns game in NFL Week 5. There have been multiple weeks, the Saints game, Week 3 of the NFL season. Now, again, some of these games, A.J. Brown was not on the field for them, and I totally understand that. But there is a group of games where the passing offense has looked out of sync, poor, elementary is a term I've heard describing the offense. Predictable is something that other people have questioned. But there are other weeks where the offense, passing offense, has looked incredible. For example, you heard Dan Orlovsky mention the Cowboys game. First week, week 1, against the Packers. Even in that Rams game, when Saquon had that monster game, the Eagles' passing offense still played well. So why is there so much inconsistency with the passing offense? Why did you have a passing offense where Jalen Hurts had over 75% of the play calls had motion, and then this past weekend we were cut down to just over 20% of the play calls involved motion? At what point do we have to look at Kellen Moore and we say, Kellen, we need more from you. We demand more from you, Kellen Moore. You are a former quarterback. You got to get into Jalen Hurts' ear and get him on track. George from Summers Point, we'll get to you before we hit the break at 609-403-0973. George says, hey, Josh, I agree about your premise about blaming some of the Eagles' offensive struggles on the coordinator. I think if this issue was brought up and Sirianni was calling the plays in the same role last year, there would be cries from every corner of how bad Sirianni is at calling plays. Moore seems to be getting a pass for whatever reason compared to Sirianni. That's George from Summers Point. George, I love the fact you brought that up because you're right. If it was Sirianni calling the plays, this text board at 609-403-0973 would be flooded with people ripping Sirianni for the offense. If Sirianni was making some of these dumb play calls, like quarterback power on third down, or these situations where you're just having the guys run go routes to drop the ball off into the flat for the check down. If Sirianni was calling some of these plays, like the deep out routes that take so long to it takes so long to make the play happen that you're forcing Hurts to hold the ball for 10 million years, and then he gets sacked. If Sirianni called those plays on Sunday, people would be screaming about how he's the worst. So where is the negative energy for Kellen Moore? And that's where I go back to what I said to Mike Gill earlier on the Sports Bash show on 97.3 ESPN, and what him and I talked about yesterday on 97.3 ESPN, which was there is a contingent of people that are waiting for Jalen Hurts or Nick Sirianni to mess up so they can come out of the woodwork and say they're the worst, tell you how much they stink, tell you I told you so, and there's none of that negative energy for Kellen Moore. And that's where the self-awareness of these athletes is so out of whack, because they're more concerned about telling their truth and being heard than they are understanding that their words have weight. We'll get to more of your text a little bit later this hour, 609-403-0973. Your DMs into the 97.3 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank. Seattle, don't forget, tonight is Thursday football on 97.3 ESPN. Rams, 49ers. If the 49ers lose this game tonight, they are probably out of the playoff hunt. The Rams are very much alive in the NFC playoff hunt for the division and or a wild card spot. You want to catch the Flyers game versus the Red Wings tonight, you can tune into our sister station, Rock 104.1, and the Rock 104.1 mobile app. Rob Maaddi from the Associated Press joins me next on 97.3 ESPN.
It's Philadelphia Flyers hockey tonight on Rock 104.1 and the Rock 104.1 mobile app. Listen as Tim Saunders and Todd Fedork bring you all the exciting play-by-play action.
Hennig in front of Michkov, he scores! And Maaddi Michkov is the hero.
It's Flyers Red Wing tonight. Coverage begins at 7 p.m. It's Philadelphia Flyers hockey on South Jersey's classic rock station, Rock 104.1 and the Rock 104.1 mobile app.
Go to get your game on at the Gallery Bar Book and Games at Ocean Casino Resort. Cheers your favorite drinks while cheering on your favorite team. Get in on the parlay while in the middle of a party. Go for the sports scene and go for the endless screams. Go to the Gallery. Go to the Fanatics Sportsbook. Go for the win at Ocean Casino Resort. For more information, visit theoceanac.com. Must be 21 or older to wager or consume alcohol. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
I got a line.
He got a line.
She got a line.
We got 4 lines. Cricket Nation, Q finger guns, really easy, super stress-free. 5G so fast, like blazing fast. Games and memes, you'll have a blast. You can get fast 5G across 4 lines. You can get fast 5G across 4 lines. As we discuss, take it from us. We 4 are 1 Cricket Nation.
And only $25 a line. Welcome to more lines. Welcome to Cricket Nation. Smile, you're on Cricket.
Cricket 5G requires a compatible device and is not available everywhere. Discount varies by line. Fees may apply. Terms and restrictions apply. See cricketwireless.com for details.
December deals just dropped at Lowe's. Get up to 30% off select major appliances. Plus, take an additional $75 off every $1,000 you spend on select kitchen major appliances from Whirlpool, KitchenAid, Amana, and Maytag. Also, save $20 on a Craftsman VersaStack rolling tool chest. Now just $69.98. Lowe's knows deals. Valid 12/12 through 12/18. Cannot be combined with additional discounts. See Lowe's.com for details and qualifying items while supplies last.
'Twas the month of December, and all across the lot, the people were raving about the Kias they got. It was the best holiday ever, and everyone had it made, cause Matt Blatt Kia gave them more for their trade. It's the Season of New Traditions sales event, currently buried in a loan or lease. Matt Blatt Kia wants to get you released and into your brand new all-wheel drive Kia Sportage or Sorento SUV. 0 down, 0 payments until March, or 0% for 48 months. So bring any old sled, because if you have a job clearing $450 per week, you too could be approved. And drive home in a brand new Kia K4. Just $159 per month lease with 0 security deposit and only $36.50 due.
It's gotta be a Matt Blatt Kia.
With approved credit, $13.89 per thousand finance. Not all will qualify. Credit may affect down payment. Offers can't be combined. Go to mattblattkianj.com for complete details or 888-505-6670. Price includes all costs to be paid by consumer, except for licensing, registration, and taxes through KMF. Rebates and incentives to dealer. Expires 1/4/25. Matt Blatt Kia, 6211 Black Horse Pike, Egg Harbor Township, and on Route 37 in Toms River.
Let's play Bet Your Life. It's the game show where you gamble not only your life, but those of your passengers and fellow drivers when you get behind the wheel after drinking.
If only it was just a game. It only takes one bad decision to change your life forever. Getting behind the wheel after you've been drinking is one of them. Don't play games that nobody can win. Drive sober or get pulled over. This message brought to you by NHTSA.
Prescription products require completion of an online medication consultation with an independent healthcare provider through the LifeMD platform and are only available if prescribed. Subscription required. Individual results may vary. Additional restrictions apply at lifemd.com. Read all warnings before using GLP-1s. Side effects may include a risk of thyroid C-cell tumors. Do not use GLP-1s if you or your family have a history of thyroid cancer.
Should GLP-1 weight loss medication like Wegovy and Zepbound cost hundreds of dollars? We don't think so. TryLifeMD.com helps provide insurance access to the leading GLP-1 medications. Visit TryLifeMD.com to get your free insurance benefits check and see your eligibility in minutes. Listen to Tara's story after losing 42 pounds.
You just take your shot. It doesn't feel like you're on a diet. What I wasn't expecting it to do was to shut off the food noise. I've gone from 237 to 195. This was life-altering, and if I can do it, I feel like anybody can do it.
Get started right now with your free insurance benefits check and see your eligibility for coverage in minutes at TryLifeMD.com. That's TryLifeMD.com.
This holiday season, Straight Talk Wireless is letting you say yes a lot more with real unlimited data. Yes to sharing pics of the ugliest holiday sweaters. Yes to checking weather on the go for surprise sledding trips. And with a free phone at sign up, let the yes-tivities begin.
No way!
Yes way. Straight Talk, real unlimited data. Available at Walmart or straighttalk.com. Offer valid through 1/5/25 while supplies last at participating stores. Taxes and fees apply. Requires in-store activation on select single line plans. Limit of 2 phones per customer. For network management practices, visit straighttalk.com.
This is the Town Square, New Jersey Info and Weather Network.
Progressive Insurance presents the Sports Flash on 97.3 ESPN. NHL, the Flyers are back home tonight as they take on the Detroit Red Wings. Tuesday, the Flyers beat the Columbus Blue Jackets in Ohio by a 5-3 score, and that snapped their 3-game losing skid. Detroit has lost 5 of their last 6 games. Sixers back in action on Friday night at home against the Indiana Pacers. Philadelphia coming off a win on Sunday against the Chicago Bulls and have won 4 of their last 5. The Eagles will take on the Pittsburgh Steelers on Sunday. Philadelphia at 11-2, riding a 9-game win streak, while the Steelers are on top of the AFC North at 10-3 and have the 3rd best defense against the run. The Eagles, the number 1 rushing unit in the NFL, led by Saquon Barkley, who leads the league with over 1,600 yards on the ground. Thursday Night Football tonight, the Los Angeles Rams are in Santa Clara as they take on the San Francisco 49ers. I'm Tony Desiri, and that's your Sports Flash on 97.3 ESPN.
Healthier starts here with Get Covered New Jersey. Open enrollment is happening now. If you need health insurance, get quality, affordable coverage with plan options that fit your life and your budget. 9 in 10 get financial help, and many pay $10 a month or less. All plans provide free preventive care, coverage for prescriptions, emergency services, and more. Enroll by December 31st for January 1st coverage at getcovered.nj.gov.
Well, we've had a beautiful but albeit cold day across South Jersey today, and that cold is going to continue tonight. With clear sky, we're going to drop all the way down to 24 degrees early tomorrow morning. For tomorrow, sunshine with a high temperature about 39. And the outlook for the weekend looks like we're going to be in the 40s both Saturday and Sunday. Your next chance of rain in South Jersey is going to happen Monday and Tuesday. Stay warm tonight. That's your South Jersey weather forecast. I'm Joe Kelly.
Hi, this is Michael Charlton, President and CEO of Atlantic Care. For over 125 years, you've trusted us with your care and well-being. This season, let's cherish what truly matters: our health, loved ones, friends, and neighbors. From my family to yours, happy holidays.
This is Game Night with Josh Hennig. on 97.3 ESPN and the 97.3 ESPN free mobile app.
Josh Hennig here live in the Ocean Casino Resort studios of Atlantic City here on 97.3 ESPN FM. And don't forget, tonight is Thursday Night Football, the start of NFL Week 15. Is that real? Rob Maaddi from the Associated Press, senior NFL writer, joins me right now here on a Thursday edition on 97.3 ESPN. Rob, welcome in. How you doing today?
I'm doing great, Josh. Week 15, man. We're getting closer and closer to the playoffs, which is always a great thing. Great time of year, especially with Christmas coming up.
Well, before we can get to the playoffs, you know, it would not be a week in Philadelphia sports if there wasn't some sort of drama. I got to ask you, Rob, you covered Philadelphia sports for many years. You saw a lot of different stuff, we'll call it, over the years. And I almost feel like this A.J. Brown stuff is like some of the craziest, because there was no point in time that if any reasonable person, Rob, like if you watched A.J. Brown yesterday and Sunday, if you watched his mannerisms, what he was saying, I don't think there was ever a malicious moment in all of this from him. But you know what happens? You say something, you don't give it context, and people run with it.
Yeah, Josh, and I will start with this, though, and I've never been afraid to call out the media for fabricating or for exaggerating or for creating false narratives. In this case, it was something that A.J. Brown actually said after the game when he was not happy. He didn't look happy, didn't look content. And then the fuel to the drama, to the fire, came from Brandon Graham, who added to it. And I think that's what made it worse. So this wasn't any kind of media creation. This really is, right? It's words from AJ. It's words from Brandon. You're right. It needs some context. And we've had inklings and some thoughts and some reports and the speculation in the past about AJ and Jalen's relationship. However he intended for that to come out, and I know the spin on Wednesday was it was an intentional thing to talk about the passing game because he wanted it to be out there to create awareness, to help people get better. The passing offense and the need for the Eagles to get better, it's not like you are raising awareness for mental health or raising awareness for anti-bullying, Josh. I mean, it's the passing game. You're winning football games, okay? You're out there. You're built to win the playoffs because you have a stingy defense. You have MVP caliber running back who's on a record-setting pace, and you don't need your quarterback to throw for 275, 300 week in and week out. Jalen Hurts is doing what he has to do. He's protecting the football. He's not making mistakes. He's not turning it over. He does need to be more aggressive in certain situations. AJ was open a few times last week, and he didn't throw to him. And I had AJ on the 5.5 and over catches, so I was watching every single time, Josh, going, shoot, you had AJ right there, man. I had a big parlay, felt 2 catches short of it. That said, when you come out and make those comments after a win, it just reeks of unhappiness because you're not getting the football. And no matter how you spin it, no matter what you try and say 2 days and 3 days later, it creates the kind of drama that is unnecessary. And Brandon Graham certainly fueled it with what he said. Did he misspeak? I can't, as they're claiming, I can't imagine Brandon Graham, a veteran player who's in that locker room, who knows everybody, who gets along with everybody. Like, he's not a guy who's off to the corner by everybody knows BG. Everybody loves BG. I can't believe that he's not informed. However, all of these things are easily fixable, right? You go out there, you throw the ball to A.J. Brown 5, 6, 7 times, he gets 110 yards, and you're back on track, and everyone's happy. Now, hopefully, though, A.J. Brown is annoyed if he goes 8 for 200 and 2 touchdowns and they lose the game. I want to see him standing there talking about what do we need to do to fix it so we can win after an 8 for 200 and 2 touchdowns? And he goes, running. That's what he's got to answer. We needed to run the football more to win, if that happens.
So a couple of things that you said I wanted to backtrack to, Rob. One is you mentioned about what Brandon Graham said. I can't help but look at the 24 hours of what – I know a lot of people that are reacting to specifically, right, to specifically what was said on the one radio show. But he also spoke again to Tim McManus of ESPN after that. He had other comments later on. So if I take the full 3 times BG spoke over a 24-hour period, I got to tell you, Rob, there's a part of me that thinks the reason why Brandon said anything was because I think Brandon felt that he had to say something to get people's attention. I don't know what the purpose of that attention was, but I genuinely do think that his intention was different than what he had originally said. That's just my perspective on it.
What he said initially, I don't have any problem with him saying guys need to be accountable, right? And guys need to talk to each other about their issues and not get it out in the media. That's a great message. And he was right by saying that. That's not misspeaking. That's not being misinformed. He got up there and he said that guys need to be accountable for themselves and not just go through the media. Talk it out. Be brothers. Hash things out. Any problems you have, whatever it may be. And don't put it out there. And he's right. Now, I guess what exacerbates the situation is when he says that the way it was interpreted that they were friends, but things change. And that was left open to, were they friends? And then they're not friends anymore? I don't believe that to be the case. And I don't think that was his intent to say that. Things change. Like, you may be close and you may be hanging out with a dude and you may be buddies, and then there's a relationship that gets involved, and now you're dating someone and you're spending more time with your significant other than you are hanging out with your boys. And then maybe if they have kids, and like, dynamics change in friendships and relationships. You know, you're not hanging out, going to bars or whatever it may be, right? So maybe that's what he means by things change. That's the part where I think people did run with and say, they were friends, but they're not friends anymore. I don't believe that to be the case. They don't act that way, and they certainly put that to rest yesterday when they spoke. And then you just see their interactions on the sideline, and you see their praying together, hanging out, doing little celebrations together.
Really quick,
yeah.
Rob, to interrupt you, the part where you mentioned about praying together, I think is important, because not just because you're the host of Faith from the Field, heard Saturday and Sunday mornings here on 97.3 ESPN, but also because I know for a fact, as someone like yourself, when you pray with someone, there's a level of vulnerability that goes with that. You know, I have a buddy of mine, Dave Klemick. Him and I work out every week. He used to play for the Kansas City Chiefs over 20 years ago. And him and I work out. We talk about life stuff. We pray together about stuff. There's a level of vulnerability that you are when you're praying with your friends than if you are just happen to be in like a large group of people. You know what I'm saying?
100% agree with you. And that's an excellent point you make. And those who may not be as spiritual might not recognize that or realize that, but like, it's easier to be in a group setting, and if everybody's praying, like, you can hide in the background if you're not feeling it or whatever it may be, right? But when it's intentional, when you seek out, like when you go back to let's go back to the Super Bowl championship team, you would see Carson Wentz, Zach Ertz, Trey Burton praying together. That was a group of friends who were vulnerable, who held each other accountable, who would talk about life issues and everything together. So when you, as you just pointed that out, I think it tells the story of their friendship and relationship a little bit deeper. The fact that it's AJ, it's Jalen. who's the third guy? I saw a third guy in one of the photos, and then I didn't in another. So I guess it's dependent upon which game, but
Well,
you're
one
always
of
seeing AJ and Jalen together.
Yeah, well, one of them was Devontae. I think another time, I try to remember who the guy the other time was because it was a defensive player the other time. But you're right. They're different, but it's always Jalen and AJ. There just happens to be a third or fourth person involved in different, depends on which week it is.
Yeah, and I love how you point that out because that really does show another level of the dynamic of their relationship. And when you can see that, and I don't think that these are two guys that they don't hate each other, they don't dislike each other. AJ wants the ball. Every wide receiver wants the ball.
Right.
Jalen's probably tired of hearing from every guy, hey, I was open. I just quarterbacked, this is crazy. I just quarterbacked a flag football game where I was the steady, and I had my daughters, and I had these other guys on the team, and this one particular kid just kept coming back saying, I was open. And like, I was annoyed. I'm like, seriously? Like you were open every time, but every time I threw it to you, you weren't catching it. You weren't doing it. But I wasn't going to be mean to a kid. I ended up throwing 6 touchdown passes to one dude who's like 5'10", towers over everybody, instead of throwing to my daughters. I guess I'm a bad dad. I'm going to hear it when I go home. Like, why'd you keep throwing to him? I'm like, because he kept catching everything. But now magnify that. You're the quarterback. You got all these pressures. You're on the sideline. You're paid as much as Jalen Hurts is getting paid to be the franchise, lead the team. Franchise QB lead the team to a Super Bowl, and nothing short of a Super Bowl is satisfactory in Philadelphia, nor should it be, because that's the standard of excellence right now. You got there. You almost won 2 years ago. That's where you need to go. You get to the NFC Championship game and lose, not a good season. You get to the Super Bowl and lose, not good enough. And if your friend and close buddy, and who you're the godfather for his daughter, and he's complaining, I'm not getting the ball, I'm open, whatever. Yeah, it's going to be irritating. It's going to annoy you, but you still have a great relationship. You're still friends. You're still everything you are, and you separate what happens on the field and what happens off the field. So I don't think any of this is not fixable. I think these are just issues that Philly is a different world when it comes to analyzing and breaking down everything everybody says. Players can say this in a different city. Nobody cares. You say that in Philadelphia, it's going to be 24/7 on the news cycle, on radio, on talk shows, on everything else. And that doesn't mean the media created it because the players did say it. It's just handled differently in this city. So when they go out this week against Pittsburgh and AJ catches a 47-yard touchdown on the first drive. Well, not the first drive because the Eagles don't score on the first drive. on the second drive. Now, if they can go out there and connect on the first play, like Donovan and T.O. for 80 yards, we'll say, well, it can't be 80 yards because the kickoff brings the top pass. It shortens the field anyway, so we won't see 80-yarders too often anymore.
We're talking with Associated Press senior NFL writer Rob Maaddi here on 97.3 ESPN. Also, his side gig apparently is Steady QB. So the reason why, though, I mentioned the QB part is because I want to backtrack to the other thing you mentioned earlier, which is you just mentioned they're playing the Steelers this week. You know me, I love to listen to former players because I feel like I learn more from them than anybody else. And I was listening to Chris Long earlier this week on the Green Light Podcast. I was listening to Dan Orlovsky this morning on Get Up. And they have both been asking questions, Rob, about the play calling. And you just mentioned the idea of this bomb to A.J. Brown, right? Well, according to analytics, A.J. Brown has actually been only open 6 times in one-on-one coverage in the last few weeks. Chris Long, Dan Orlovsky, other people, Jason Avant has asked the same question, I know, on his podcast, Q&A. They've all been asking the same question, Rob, about the play calling. Is there a part of this conversation that should have all along, instead of being focused on Jalen and A.J. Brown, instead be focused on Kellen Moore?
It's part of it, but there were opportunities last week against the Panthers where AJ was open and Jalen didn't throw to him. Now, does it depend upon who the first read is, the second read, whatever it may be? Is that the play caller, or is that on Kellen Moore calling a play for someone else, or Jalen not looking out, seeing the guy that he could connect with at least two times? And one was like a deep route towards the corner, and it may have been a little bit of a tougher throw, but it was a makeable throw, and he's done that before. So I think it's part of, it could be part of the equation, but it's really hard to criticize Kellen Moore when you've won 9 straight games and you're doing so well running the football, really running the ball the way they have. It should open up more deep opportunities. So if AJ's analytics said only 6 times he was open, is that accurate? 6 times he's only been open over the past few weeks? Like, that's an interesting total, because I think part of that sometimes is scheme, right? I love talking about the coordinators who scheme their receivers wide open. And we see that sometimes with Sean McVay's guys. We've seen that in the past with Kyle Shanahan. And we've seen that even with Dougie P way back when, scheming guys open. That is an area where you can look at Kellen Moore and say, if AJ's only open 6 times, is that he's not schemed open? He's not running a crisp enough route? He's not lost a step? Certainly. So I think everything's on the table. You can raise those questions, but I don't think you can go too deep into being critical of the guy.
Well, I'm going to be critical of him anyway, so we'll have to disagree on that. I just, and listen, I don't want to belabor the point. I just feel like Kellen Moore's a former quarterback. And sometimes I think there is I think this is for all football. This is not just a Kellen Moore issue. I do think there are times that the person calling the plays does not do a good enough job communicating to the guy executing the plays. Like, for example, I listened to Joe Brady talk about this. Brady was saying in an interview that the reason why he failed in Carolina, but he has succeeded in Buffalo, Rob, is because he has become a better communicator with the quarterback. You know, I look at last year, Brian Johnson's a former quarterback. Well, why did it not work? Well, there are reports there that Brian Johnson and Jalen Hurts didn't always communicate well. So to me, there's a part of me that looks at Kellen Moore and says, hey, you're a former quarterback. I need you to take off the coach hat sometimes, put the quarterback hat back on, and maybe use that to help Jalen.
Yeah, and that's understandable, because when you've played that position, right, and Kellen Moore wasn't a starting caliber quarterback, but when you've played that position, you should be able
He's the winningest college quarterback in FBS history. He knows something, Rob.
Yeah, he's not at the NFL level, but he's had success.
Right.
He's had success, and he should be able to engage in that way with Jalen. And I thought, and when you mentioned Brian Johnson, like, he did a great job as a quarterback's coach, and he just struggled in his first year as an offensive coordinator, right, and how that relationship changed in that dynamic. Some of these guys are who they are as far as personality, and that's not going to change how they communicate their ideas and how they can really present things. Like, some guys are really good at presenting before a game, presenting in the video room, presenting on the whiteboard, and really showing it, and then they can't articulate it as well as they can present it on paper or on film or on video or write it down. You know what I mean? There's like a difference. And then some guys are going to be able to articulate a whole lot better than they scheme it up and show it and diagram it. So all of those things are open for debate and conversation, and how can you get better and what can you do. Jalen is handling the football and not making mistakes. I wonder, Josh, how much of the criticism he received when he was turning the ball over a lot towards the end of last season and early this season has made him so risk averse that he's now lacking aggression. And that would be an area of concern, because at some point, I think you're going to need Jalen to take a few chances, take a few risks, be aggressive, let AJ, let Devontae go get that football, even if they're not wide open. And I hope that he hasn't been so bothered by that. And you know what it's like in Philly. Oh, hey, Jalen's turning the ball over. He's got to stop. He stopped. He's got one turnover in one interception in the last 9 games. I think there was a fumble in there too, but he's also not taking those shots maybe the way he should be. And that's something to keep an eye on. And that's got to be where Nick and Kellen are like, hey man, go out there and be aggressive. We want you to be aggressive. It's okay.
Couple more for Rob Maaddi from the Associated Press, joining me here on 97.3 ESPN. Josh Hennig in the Ocean Casino Resort Studios. So, Rob, we got the unstoppable force versus the immovable object this Sunday. Eagles have won 7 straight home games against the Pittsburgh Steelers since 1970. But on the other side, Russell Wilson is undefeated in the city of Philadelphia. So, Rob, unstoppable force, immovable object, go.
So, something's got to change here. And Russ is undefeated, but they were all with the Seattle Seahawks, not with the Pittsburgh Steelers. So I think he's got to – it's going to be a tough matchup for the Eagles. And the line kind of surprised me a little bit, the 5-point line. But I think this is a game that's going to come down to, and this is concerning, I think the game's going to come down to a field goal. And I don't have that much confidence in Jake Elliott at this point if it's going to come down to a field goal. I have the Eagles winning, I think, by 2 or 3. So maybe it's another one. Hey, we got it right last week, late cover in Carolina. Well, it wasn't that late. It was almost a late win. But I think this one's going to be close, come down to the end. It's going to be a tough challenge for Saquon. He's running you're running against a really good defensive football team. I think they're 7th or 8th against the run. They're somewhere in the middle of the pack against the pass. Maybe this is the week, Josh, where Jalen throws the ball to AJ for 150, 175. But like I said at the top, if they lose, I hope that AJ's not sitting there smiling. You never want guys to be looking at their stats and being happy and satisfied when they get the numbers, but you don't win. You want to be as angry and as annoyed when you lose a game. I was that guy sometimes when I played ball, man. I got 5 for 5. I'm like, oh, I'm good. Yeah, it don't matter. Hey, but you lost 15 to 14 or whatever it is. Yeah, but I was 5 for 5. No, Shouldn't be that guy. Not in the NFL.
All right, Rob, a couple rapid fires before I let you go. If the Bucs win the NFC South, how scared is the rest of the NFC?
Yeah, you don't want to get them in. You definitely don't want to get them in because this is a team who this still holds up. I think I said it maybe 4 weeks ago, and it still holds up. Bucs are the only team to beat the Lions. I think that changes this week. And the last team to beat the Eagles. But they're going to have a hard time, Josh, getting into the playoffs because although the Falcons have stumbled and struggled, just look at it this week. They're going to L.A. to face the Chargers. Their defense is depleted.
Right.
And the Falcons are playing the woeful Raiders who need to lose for Shador or whoever they want to draft. And the Falcons have that tiebreaker. And then looking at Atlanta's schedule, then they play the Giants. And the Bucs only have – they do have the Panthers again who are tough, and the Saints. Like, I think they're going to have a hard time getting in. If they do get in and they get a little bit healthier, they're a team that's capable of beating anybody, because especially if they get in, it's most likely going to be as the division champion, so they'll get the first 4 or 5 seed. They'll get that first game, which would be they'd be playing Minnesota and Sam Darnold as a 4 or 5.
Right.
Although you never know because of the NFC West. The NFC West, and I don't know what the tiebreakers are. If they go 10-7, there's a chance that they can get the 3 seed. Although they also beat the Washington Commanders, who are, if they somehow free fall and finish in a tie with the Bucs, then maybe they do sneak in as a wild card. So there's a lot of different scenarios, and that's what the next few weeks are so good for. But the Eagles just have to avoid beating themselves. And if they avoid beating themselves, my preseason Super Bowl pick He looks a whole lot better.
Before I let you go, I want to know from you, Bill Belichick to the University of North Carolina. Does that say more about Belichick or more about the state of the NFL?
I think that's the state of college football and the NFL, right? You look, college football is becoming more and more like the pro program. The NFL is trending away from the older coaches and the recycled coaches towards the younger guys. I really don't think Belichick thought that he was going to get another opportunity in the NFL. He's not going to be able to count those wins that he gets at UNC towards Shula's record. Now, can he leave after 2 years? Potentially, if that's something he wanted to do and his son takes over. First, there was nothing to it, just exploring all options, listening to all his opportunities, and he ends up taking it because I feel like he really thought he's not going to get that chance in the NFL right now. And it's crazy to think a 72-year-old coach is going to take over a college program and be there long enough, but it's Bill Belichick, and he's a Hall of Fame coach. He's going to make an impact. It's going to be immediate, and it could change the way the dynamics of the college football program, setting them up like the NFL, the GM coach situation, all of that stuff now, and all of it because of the NIL deals and everything else that started.
He's Rob Maaddi, at Rob Maaddi on the Twitter X platform. Of course, you can check out all of his work at apnews.org, covering the NFL, senior NFL writer. And, of course, he's the host of Faith on the Field Saturday and Sunday mornings here on 97.3 ESPN. Rob, what do you got going on for Faith on the Field this weekend?
Either Miles Killebrew from the Steelers because they're playing the Eagles, or Sean Alexander, the former MVP running back. So I'm going to have one of those guys this weekend and the other one the following.
All right. Well, I think that's a pretty good options either way. Rob, always appreciate you jumping on. Take care of yourself, you and your family. We'll talk soon.
Appreciate it, Josh. Thank you, buddy.
It's Sixers basketball tomorrow night on 97.3 ESPN with the voice of the Sixers, Tom McGinnis, calling all the exciting play-by-play action.
Could be jab step jumper. It's good. He buries it. His 13th field goal.
It's Sixers Pacers.
Tomorrow night, coverage begins at 7 p.m. It's Sixers basketball all season long on South Jersey's radio home for Philadelphia 76ers basketball. 97.3 ESPN.
Well, Mama C, look how many are on the list.
That's right, Papa C. I've moved all customers Philly and New Jersey to Matt Blatt Nissan's best deal list.
Wait, huh? But what about their trades?
Get to Matt Blatt Nissan because everyone's off the naughty list. Get a 120% gift over KBB fair market value for your old sled. Plus, new Nissan Rogue, 0 down, 0% financing for 60 months.
Oh, yeah, it's on at Matt Blatt Nissan.
New 2025 Matt Blatt Nissan Sentra S. Just $159 per month lease with 0 security deposits. Have a job clearing $450 per week? You're virtually approved today. Matt Blatt Nissan.com. Unapproved credit through NEMAC. Negative equity will be refinanced into new vehicle plus tax tag and $589 doc fee. Offers can't be combined. Call 877-289-6670 or go to mattblattnissan.com for complete details. 39 months, 10,000 miles, 1,500 due through NEMAC. VIN SY231958. MSRP 22,730. Offer ends 1/4/2025. It's on at Matt Blatt Nissan on the Black Horse Pike. Egg Harbor Township.
This holiday season, Straight Talk Wireless is letting you say yes a lot more with real unlimited data. Yes to sharing pics of the ugliest holiday sweaters. Yes to checking weather on the go for surprise sledding trips. And with a free phone at sign up, let the yes-tivities begin.
No way!
Yes way. Straight Talk, real unlimited data. Available at Walmart or straighttalk.com. Offer valid through 1/5/25 while supplies last at participating stores. Taxes and fees apply. Requires in-store activation on select single-line plans. Limit of 2 phones per customer. For network management practices, visit straighttalk.com.
Thanks to Total Wine, you saved more on all the gifts for the ones you adore. Wine, spirits, beers, all nestled on shelves. Got some advice from our helpful elves. Oh, so many gifts to explore when you go to Total Wine and More. Bottles so delightful, whoa. Priced so amazingly low.
Curbside pickup available and the lowest prices for over 30 years only at Total Wine and More.
Drink responsibly. B21.
Let's play Bet Your Life. It's the game show where you gamble not not only your life, but those of your passengers and fellow drivers when you get behind the wheel after drinking.
If only it was just a game. It only takes one bad decision to change your life forever. Getting behind the wheel after you've been drinking is one of them. Don't play games that nobody can win. Drive sober or get pulled over. This message brought to you by NHTSA.
Oh, could this vintage store be any cuter?
Right? And the best part? They accept Discover.
Accept Discover? In a little place like this? I don't think so, Jennifer.
Oh, yeah, huh? Discover's accepted where I like to shop. Come on, baby, get with the times.
Right, so we shouldn't get the parachute pants?
These are making a comeback. I think.
Discover is accepted at 99% of places that take credit cards nationwide. Based on the February 2024 Nielsen report.
This is a special alert to all Americans who own a vehicle with less than 200,000 miles, with an auto warranty about to expire, or with no warranty coverage at all. Due to a decline in the economy, CarShield is announcing a low-cost, month-to-month vehicle protection plan that is now available to the public to save any driver out-of-pocket expenses on future auto repairs. Call now to find out how you can pay almost nothing for covered auto repairs. Yes, you heard that correctly. Pay almost nothing for covered auto repairs. An open phone line has been established for all drivers to call for a free quick quote. Call 800-630-9723 now. Drivers who are covered will not have to pay for covered repairs again. This protection plan is at an all-time low. Additionally, drivers who activate this vehicle protection today will also receive free roadside assistance, free towing, and car rental options at no additional cost. Call us for your free quick quote today. Call 800-564-9170 now. 800-564-9170. That's 800-564-9170. What do you have to lose? Call 800-564-9170. Again, 800-564-9170.
Go for the magic this holiday season at Ocean Casino Resort in Atlantic City. Stay in one of their holiday-themed rooms or suites and enjoy a touch of holiday spirit. And for those on the naughty list this year, you can reserve an exclusive suite inspired by the most beloved green Christmas villain of all time. Wake up to stunning ocean views and experience the festive magic that brings the holiday spirit to life. Reserve your holiday escape now at theoceanac.com. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
Now, more Game Night with Josh Hennig on 97.3 ESPN and on the 97.3 ESPN free mobile app, powered by First Bank of Sea Isle City.
All right, before we get out of here, a little bit longer conversation with Rob Maaddi, but just a lot of good stuff there from Rob. Always enjoy talking to him each week. I did want to address one point, which is someone texted in. So to clarify the stat, A.J. Brown has seen single man coverage 6 times this year. Now, he has seen man coverage with zone overlaps throughout the year. The reason where the 6 comes from is there's only 6 times where he has been mano-a-mano, solo against a defensive back. The rest of the last few weeks, he has seen either double coverage, either with zone, man plus zone, overlaps, etc., etc. So that, I know the stat's a little confusing, so I want to clarify it right there.
This is South Jersey's official home for Philadelphia Eagles football.
And before I get out of here, for my YouTube channel exclusive after the show, a couple things really quick. Number one, I will not be live tomorrow night, okay? We have a company Christmas party that I have been instructed I should be a part of. And the timing of it is absolutely horrible. So I am going to try to do a show in some capacity over the weekend instead of the Football Friday tomorrow. That's the one thing I want to mention here on my YouTube channel. Number two, I want to talk real quick about the Belichick going to college, because I have a specific belief about the whole subject. Bill Belichick made a comment at the presser today. And I know Belichick from everything I know about him, from what people have written about him, people who know him have said about him. He's not a man with hyperbole. He's not a man who just says things for attention or clicks or views. When he made this comment at his opening press conference today, when he was announced as the head coach of the University of North Carolina, I think this is the real reason why he is the head coach of the Tar Heels football team moving forward.
I always wanted to coach in college football, and it just never really worked out. Had some good years in the NFL, so that was okay. But this is really kind of a dream come true. I grew up in college football with my dad. As a coach at Navy for 50 years, so as a kid, all I knew was college football, and so it's great to come back.
That's not a man who came up with a script to say at an opening press conference. That's a man who genuinely feels deep down in his soul that he wanted to coach college football. That's a man who genuinely looked at this opportunity, and he described later in the press conference as, I didn't seek this out, it sought me out, right? The idea that, in life, sometimes when one door closes, another one opens. Sometimes we could be so hung up on the idea of, this is the way it's going to work. This is my pathway to success. When the reality is that sometimes that journey, that path to success is not actually the one meant for us. I genuinely do believe Bill Belichick wanted to keep coaching in the NFL. But I also believe that he may have walked away from the entire process feeling a little, disillusioned with everything. Belichick is the kind of man who has a lot of pride. A lot of pride. I mean, the man coached in the NFL from starting the 1970s to just last season in some capacity. Whether with the Baltimore Colts, the New York Giants, the Cleveland Browns, New York Jets, who else? New England Patriots twice. So the man had been an NFL lifer. But you heard him say he's more of a football lifer. And I think that's the bigger takeaway. Now, I'm not saying he's going to stay at North Carolina all 5 years. There's a lot of weird stuff in his contract. Like, for example, the last 2 years of his contract is not fully guaranteed money. That's a very odd clause in a coach's contract. There's also the addendum that his son is going to be the coach in waiting. That his son Steve, who is the defensive coordinator at Washington, he's now coming within the North Carolina to be his DC there, and he'll be the coach in waiting. There's also another clause in the contract where once he get past the first 2 years of employment at North Carolina, I know it's not literally 2 years, but the way it times out, it actually functions as 2 years. The buyout is only $1 million. So at the end of the day, Belichick can go back to the NFL. But I genuinely think that sounded like a man today that was very passionate about the idea of college football. And if anyone saw his work on the Manning Cast or Inside the NFL or joining Pat McAfee's show, there was definitely a part of him that you could tell that was not done with football, even though the NFL might have been done with him. And realistically, the real reason why Bill Belichick is not in the NFL anymore is because there was a poison pill sold to the rest of the league on Bill Belichick. There's a lot of reporting out there from, for example, I've interviewed Ian O'Connor on my show on 97.3 ESPN multiple times. He wrote the Belichick biography. He's reported on it. I know that Albert Breer of SI has reported about it, and others have as well. I know one of Peter King's final reports before he retired, he's not fully retired, but he's mostly retired, was about this as well. Belichick wanted to bring his system wherever he went. And the reason why an organization like the Eagles were not interested in firing Sirianni and bringing Belichick in, a reason why an organization like the Falcons were not interested in uprooting their entire organization and bringing him in, the reason why job openings like the Chicago Bears or the New York Jets were not interested in bringing Belichick in was because they were not interested in a man who is going to be that much of a micromanager of the entire professional organization in charge of their football team. Because at the end of the day, men who are billionaires have ego. And while their egos are at different tiers, it's hard for them to hand over their operation to somebody who they don't view as an equal. Most professional sports team owners say, I'm rich. I earned the opportunity to own this football team. And if you notice, in the last few years of Belichick's time in New England, owner Robert Kraft and his son Jonathan became more and more meddling in operations. And it's part of the reason why guys like Scott Pioli and Nick Caserio and Michael Lombardi all eventually left New England, because at some point or another, they all saw the writing on the wall that basically, I don't want to be involved when this organization that under Belichick that has won 6 Super Bowls eventually falls apart. Nobody wanted to be there when the Jenga tower fell down. And Belichick was hanging on for dear life to that Jenga tower. And so he's thought of the world as, this is the way I run an organization, because that's where I had my most success for a 20-plus year period. I think it was like 25 years he was in New England. The problem for Belichick became nobody viewed his success that way. People viewed his success as, hey, I don't want to hand over the keys to my car, the keys to my kingdom, to a guy who's going to tell me how to run my business. Going to college is the wild, wild west right now. The reason why guys like Deion Sanders is having success, the reason why the coaches who are having success in college are doing what they are at the college level, is because of the fact that there is not a man at the top of their collegiate organization who is a billionaire. They have collectives who donate money to the athletic program, who spend money to help the athletes with X, Y, and Z. There are donors to the college. There are university presidents, athletic directors. There's a lot of moving parts at the college level. And there is a vacuum for a man to come in there and bring order to the chaos. And the reason why Mac Brown was let go at North Carolina, even though he had coached there a very long time, twice actually, Mac Brown coached there, was because of the fact that Mac Brown was trying to coach college football the way it used to be worked, the way it used to be run, I should say. College football is not all about the head coach anymore. It's about the structure of the entire program. You are no longer just coaching young men. You are cultivating a program for young men to come to. It's a huge difference now. The reason why Deion is going to keep having success at Colorado, why he recruited I think it's the number 2 quarterback in the country, is because those young men look at Deion the same way that they look at these other coaches, the Kirby Smarts of the world, as these are more than just father figures. These are CEOs who are going to prepare me for life after this university in a way that not everyone's going to get everywhere. You can go to Dan Mullen at UNLV, the new head coach at UNLV. You can go to Barry Odom, the new coach at Purdue. You can go to James Franklin at Penn State University. Greg Schiano at Schiano's a good example. You can go to Shimon Moore at Michigan. You can go to PJ Fleck at Minnesota. And you could have a successful college career with all of those coaches, but you're not getting the fundamental, I'm preparing you for life. And this is the structure of the real world when you leave college that you are going to get from Bill Belichick at North Carolina, from Deion Sanders at Colorado, from Greg Schiano at Rutgers University. you're not going to get that level of structure everywhere. And it's not to say the structure at, for example, at Clemson isn't any good, but there's a reason why Sark has been able to keep 2 top-tier quarterback prospects in-house, and neither one of them bailed on the program the same way he saw Nick Saban do that at Alabama. Because Sark is taking the old way of college football and combining it with the new. And the reason why Saban left college football is because he did not have people to handle some of the issues that he didn't want to deal with anymore. He didn't enjoy the game anymore. Bill Belichick saw his old friend Nick Saban struggle and said, well, if I'm going to college football, I'm going to do it the NFL way. I'm going to have a GM who's going to handle all of the NIL stuff, all of the booster issues. It ain't going to be me, Bill Belichick. Someone else is going to deal with it. That's why it's going to work in North Carolina, because Belichick is the ultimate delegator, the ultimate overseer. He's the guy who says, I hire you to do this job, I hire you to do this job, and I hire you to do this job. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to meet with you every day about your job. I'm going to talk to you about your job every day. But I'm hiring you, as Belichick would say at New England, to do your job. The future of college football is having a head coach who delegates and is not the end-all, be-all for everything. And Belichick understands that better than anyone at the NFL level. The reason why Deion Sanders was able to hire these big-time coaches on his staff is because he's hiring them to do their job because he doesn't want to micromanage them. People like Belichick and Deion and these other men, they want to macro-manage. They want to come in, step in when something needs to be dealt with, and then step out. They don't want to micro every single piece of every part of the program. They want to set standard. They want to set structure, and they want everyone to work within that structure. And where did Belichick learn that from? His father working at Annapolis Navy for almost 50 years. That military structure is more in need today in the public sector than ever before. And I mean public in terms of like not in the military. And I think the reason why Belichick will be successful is because he is going to walk up the young men and be able to tell them, I'm not here to make you something you're not. I'm here to tell you what you can be. I'm going to show you the way to get there. I'm going to put you on the path to success. It's going to be on you to make it happen. And some young men are not going to want that. Like those 20 kids who all left Colorado, Deion's first year there. Not every young man wants to deal with the responsibilities that come with that kind of structure. But the young men who embrace it are the ones who are going to be better for it, not just in football, but in life. And at the end of the day, a majority of college athletes will never play professional sports. 98% of all the college football players will never play in the NFL. 90% in total will never play professional football in any capacity, whether it's NFL, arena football, Canadian football, European League football, the Independent Spring League, United Football League. Thank you. All of these leagues, they will never, ever play in. It's a small fraction that are ever going to have a taste of the professional game. So it's more important than ever to give these young men a taste of structure, responsibility, and the inner workings of a professional level environment at the college level, because it's going to better prepare them for life. And that's what Belichick is doing. He is taking the old school, combining with the new school, bringing it together, like Steve Sarkisian is doing at Texas, like Kirby Smart is doing at Georgia, like Deion Sanders is doing at Colorado. The successful programs right now are all doing that. Thank you for watching the extended edition here on my YouTube channel. As I said, probably not tomorrow night, but on Saturday, I will do an Eagles pre-game review, some football pricks for you for the weekend. So we will do that, but it won't be tomorrow because, again, I have obligations to my job. I can't just dedicate myself full-time to this YouTube channel yet. I'm not at that point in my life yet. Again, thank you for watching. Like, subscribe, share with your friends, and I'll catch you next time on 97.3 ESPN FM, right here on my YouTube channel, at Josh Hennig, on the Twitter X platform, as well as Joshua S. Hennig on Instagram. And don't forget, this Sunday, I will be back at Doyle's Poorhouse in Tuckerton for our Eagles watch party. We will be giving away tickets to Earth, Wind, and Fire's concert in Atlantic City, the Trans-Siberian Orchestra performance for the Christmas concert in Philadelphia, as well as other great prizes. But you must be present to win this Sunday at Doyle's Poorhouse in Tuckerton for our Eagles watch party. Starting at 4 p.m., we'll do the giveaways at halftime. Take care, everyone, and I'll catch you next time right here on my YouTube channel. I'm Josh Hennig, signing off.